Alright, what's up, YouTube? So I'm going to do a quick video on the Danny Garcia, Brandon Rios fight. I'm going to speak on Shawn Porter, Keith Thurman, and the WBC, okay? Over the weekend, we had the fight, and then, a lot of stuff happened off, outside of the fight. We had Shawn Porter confronting both Keith Thurman and then Danny Garcia in the ring, okay? And then you also had the news today about the WBC. Basically, both Danny Garcia is a mandatory, Shawn Porter is a mandatory, and we're trying to figure out what's going on here. A lot of us want to see the Errol Spence fight, but, Keith Thurman is still out. He's coming back in May. It's been messy. I've made videos on this before. But let's start off with the Brandon Rios fight. Now, this is how I saw it. You guys saw my video before. Wasn't a fan of this fight. Most people aren't. Nobody really cared for it. But I did watch it. Everything that we expected to happen happened, okay? I think the people that thought that the fight was going pretty well and thought it was competitive, I believe it was competitive because Danny was trying out some things, okay? I noticed that he was doing a lot of movement in the ring that night, okay? I think he just seemed to be doing he was trying a lot of stuff out, okay? I don't think he was being aggressive. I think he could have been aggressive when he wanted to, when he chose to. I don't think he really respected Brandon Rios' power. He was doing a lot of feints. He was doing a lot of feinting. He was doing a lot of, he was doing a lot of fundamentals in there, and I think he was just warming up. I don't think he went in there with the intentions of getting Brandon Rios out of there early. I think he wanted to try some things out, and, he's been out of the ring since he fought Keith Thurman. He's a little rusty. So maybe he's preparing for the next fight. Maybe Shawn Porter is the next fight. Who knows? But I just believe, from watching it, and I saw, Brandon Rios pick up a couple rounds in there. I didn't really buy too much into it. I thought I thought Danny Garcia was doing just fine, even with the rounds that he was losing. I thought that he was just being patient and waiting for the time to strike when he felt like it, okay? I think he also could have just gone in there and got Rios out of there in 3-4 rounds maybe if he really wanted that. But I don't think he was really trying to do that, all right? I know a lot of us don't like Danny. A lot of people don't like him and feel that he's a cherry picker and everything. But he still is a good boxer. And I think that if he really wanted to push the action, he could have anytime he wanted to, all right? Now, moving on from that fight. Shawn Porter. All right, I already addressed him in several other videos, okay? I made a video about Shawn Porter not fighting Errol Spence. Before everybody, started talking about it, I made videos like, yo, what is Shawn Porter doing right now? Why is he not calling out Errol Spence? Why is he not fighting Errol Spence? Errol would fight him. Even before Errol even came out and said that he would fight him, I said Errol would fight him. But Shawn Porter is playing his buddy-buddy thing. He was doing all this interviews with Errol Spence, trying to stay close, trying to be cool. And I felt that he was ducking Errol Spence. I think that's a way of ducking. When you're calling out Keith Thurman, a guy that's injured, and you're calling out Danny Garcia, a guy that clearly does not want any parts of you and doesn't hold a title, yet you just want to totally look over Errol Spence, saying, oh, he's not, in my plans right now, whatever, I think that's bullshit, and I called it out, But now I see him, confronting Keith Thurman, a guy that's still injured, a guy that is going to come back and said that he's going to fight a tune-up, have a tune-up match, okay? Right now, it's not your shot right now, Now, I know you want to fight Danny Garcia, I know you want to fight him too, and I think the fight should happen, but coming into the ring, I mean, if that's what you're going to do, I'm not against that. I'm not against fighters coming in the ring and doing call-outs. That's cool. I mean, that's always good. I didn't have a problem with it when Tyson Fury stepped in the ring with Deontay Wilder. I didn't have a problem with it when Mosley confronted Floyd Mayweather. I never have a problem with that, even when Lara did it with Canelo. I don't have a problem with that. But my whole thing is, there is a guy out there that doesn't have any fights scheduled that would like to fight you, and that's Errol Spence. Why are you not calling him out? I think he even has a chance against Errol Spence. I don't think he would win, but I think he has a great chance to throw off Errol Spence because he has such a, Sean Porter has such an aggressive style. You know, you never know. So I wish Sean Porter would fight Errol Spence right now, but he seems to want to go after the injured guy that's holding 2 titles, all right? But with all that being said, the WBC, now I heard the news on the WBC, and the WBC is garbage. You know, the WBC has been terrible when it comes to their rankings. You know, I stressed that, you know, last year when I was talking about Wilder and Thurman and, you know, what's this guy, Luis Ortiz, you know, and Klitschko. I stressed that last year, and I said, what's up with the WBC and their rankings? You know, people are just being moved around, and the rankings based on the resumes just don't make sense. You know, what's up with the WBC making Danny Garcia and Brandon Rios a title eliminator? Like, what? Like, how? Danny Garcia just lost to Keith Thurman, lost his title, and he's fighting Brandon Rios, a guy that has not done nothing in ages, for a title eliminator? How did that even happen? Brandon Rios wasn't even active. Not only was he not beating anybody meaningful, but he wasn't even active. How does that become a title eliminator for the WBC strap? At least Porter fought Berto. He fought, who's the other guy Porter fought? He fought, I forgot his name. Porter just fought, I can't fight. Adrian Granados, okay? Fought him. All right, at least that's good. At least Berto, you know, Berto was having a nice little run, you know. He had a nice little run. I mean, he lost to Floyd, but I mean, since he's came back, he's beating some solid guys. So I said, okay, that's cool. Andre Berto's always a name, you know, this guy that's pretty somewhat semi-active, and he's always dangerous, you know, because of his punching power and everything. So that's a cool win. You know, Porter beats Adrian Granados a lot better than Adrian Broner did. So, you know, I'm like, all right, cool. That's cool. You know, all right. He's in position. He's trying to get his position back to getting his WBC title shot against Keith Thurman. But how does Danny Garcia just come out of nowhere and fight in a eliminator match? And I'm like, if this is going to be an eliminator, it should be between Sean Porter and Danny Garcia, which Sean Porter wants. So what exactly is the WBC doing with their ranking system? Like, what are they doing? You know, it's getting to a point to where I'm like, you know, we know these fighters have to fight their mandatories and stuff in order to hold on to their straps. But it's getting to a point where it's like, damn, I don't even want to consider the rankings anymore because they're so bad, especially in the WBC. They're so inconsistent and they're so random at times. It's like, you know, they don't have any credibility to them. The ranking systems have no credibility because they're just randomly putting guys in certain spots. You know? Danny Garcia should be fighting Sean Porter, and Danny Garcia should not be fighting anyone else but each other in order to fight Keith Thurman. Like, in order for you to get a shot at Keith Thurman, those two should be fighting each other. Nobody else. Nobody else. I see Jesse Vargas is up there too. One of those guys should be fighting one of those guys. Jesse Vargas should have been in the eliminator. You know, one of those, 2 out of those 3 fighters between Garcia, Porter, and Vargas should have been the eliminator. Whoever wins that fight become the mandatory for Keith Thurman fights. Not just one guy that just came in one fight after a loss. With losing his WBC title, he gets another opportunity that quick after taking a year off against Brandon Rios. That makes no sense. The WBC should be ashamed of themselves because they're a freaking abomination to boxing. They're terrible. They're terrible. Like, how long are we gonna have to keep dealing with this WBC and their terrible rankings, man? You know, their random fightings. Who's getting protected here? It's something, there's got to be some kind of backdoor strategic plan by someone. I don't know if it's for Danny Garcia. I don't know if it's to protect Garcia or Thurman. I don't know who is this protecting. I don't know who's in the back pockets of these sanctioning bodies. But lately, man, it's been so bad. It's just so blatant at this point. It's like, man, how can we would take these sanctioning bodies seriously at this point, you know? Anyway, let me know what you guys think. I don't want to make this video too long, man. I just think the WBC and what they're doing with this whole situation is real messy, man. You know, Sean Porter, Danny Garcia, Jesse Vargas fight. Two of those guys gotta fight each other in order to fight Thurman, in my opinion. You know, and maybe it is happening. Maybe it's part of the plan. But as far as right now, what they're saying in the news right now, they're saying Danny and Sean Porter are the mandatories. All right, so I don't know. I just think that's ridiculous. You know, this shouldn't be two mandatories unless they're both fighting each other. You know, and I think Jesse Vargas should probably get a shot because, you know, he's up there too. You know, I think he should get in the mix. But Keith Thurman may be fighting him. I don't know. I don't think Keith Thurman's going to fight him. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. And, oh, let me bring up one point. Because I was going to do a video on Devin Alexander against Victor Ortiz. I'm not going to do a video. I'll just speak on it real quick. I did think Devin won. I thought he did enough to win. I thought it was a good fight. They both showed a lot of heart in that fight. I thought Victor did win a fair amount of rounds. I just didn't think he won the fight, or it should have been a draw, okay? I didn't like the fact that it was a draw. Two saw it as a draw, one saw it as Victor Ortiz winning. I thought that was kind of ridiculous, you know? Not the worst robbery in the world or anything like that, because it was a competitive fight, but I thought Alexander was edging the majority of the rounds, okay? With that being said, though, I wouldn't be surprised if Keith Thurman fights a Devin Alexander, if he is or Victor Ortiz as his first comeback fight. I think Alexander would be the better fighter to fight as far as preparing for, you know, arrow spins. I just think that, or whoever he decides to fight, because Devin Alexander, he has the better punch resistance, you know. I just think he, you know, is a tougher fighter between the two. Ortiz, you know, you just don't know what he's gonna get, and especially if he gets hit by a guy with power, you know, there's a chance that he might fall and not get back up early in the fight. I don't think he's great for preparing for a bigger fight. So I would go with Alexander over Ortiz, not just because he won the fight, or I think he won the fight, but because I think he's just better for Keith Thurman. If Keith Thurman is gonna fight one of those two as a tune-up, I think the tune-up, as far as a tune-up, I think they're both good for a tune-up, okay, for a tune-up. But, you know, if I had to pick one between the two, that Keith Thurman, between those two, I would pick Alexander, all right? I would pick Alexander over Ortiz. I think he would just be the better test for Keith Thurman. I think the Ortiz, if Ortiz was his old version of himself, I think that would be a better fight against Keith Thurman, because they're both explosive, you know, both very athletic. But I think Alexander at this stage, from what I've seen in that fight too, I think Alexander would be a better test for Keith Thurman. I don't think Keith Thurman would knock him out. I think Keith Thurman would beat him to a decision, and he would get some good work, and, you know, in that fight, especially fighting against a southpaw. If he fights Spence in the future, you know, that'll be a good southpaw matchup. All right. So anyway, I'm done. All right. See ya.